I think the thing that switched was like, I think I was like getting good at this and I could play it, and there was bands in Perth and stuff. But there was a golf tournament going on it was like a 36-hole thing. And on the Sunday, Oasis was playing with, it might have been Kings of Leon. There was a big music festival. And like, instead of going to the golf tournament, I went to go watch Oasis. I remember that was the thing, and I went and watched Oasis, and I was like, I want to do that. Like, that seems like the coolest thing in the world. Like, and I felt like it was within my ability. I felt like I could sing and play enough that I could like be in a band. Completely delusional.
It seems like it worked out okay.
Yeah.
Did you WD from this golf tournament? Were you playing it?
Yeah, I was in.
Welcome back to Mind Game. I'm your host, Casey Bannon, and today's guest is Cam Avery, an absolute beauty of a guy, a tremendous stick, in addition to being an incredible musician. Growing up in Australia, Cam had visions of playing on tour. He ran around with some crusty old Australian tour pros and dedicated his life to the game, but he would ultimately turn pro in music and leave golf behind for over a decade. In that time, he's played bass for Tame Impala and has collaborated with the likes of Arctic Monkeys and Alexander Xavier, in addition to putting out his first solo project in 2017. In 2018, he started playing golf again, and just last year, he launched his own golf Substack called The Fade, in which he has conversations that begin with golf, but extend far beyond to explore the intersections of the game and a virtuous pursuit in any field. He sees what I think we all see in this game, which is golf is just a mirror to reflect life back at us. He's a tremendously fun guy to hang with, deep and thoughtful thinker, plays multiple instruments perfectly on plain swing, and is devastatingly handsome. So I hate this guy. I don't. He's great. We had a blast recording this together in LA, and I hope you enjoy it. A special thanks to our sponsors for Mind Game, that's Titleist and AG1, who we'll hear from a bit later on, and a huge thank you to all the members of the Golfers Journal, aka the Broken Tea Society, for making this show possible. If you enjoyed the show and would like to see it continue, the best way to do so is to become a member at golfersjournal.com/subscribe. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I hope you get something out of this chat with Cam Avery.
So Cam Avery, the word on the street is here in LA, in New York, in Orange County, is that you were quite the junior player in Australia growing up. Is this true?
Yeah, I was good. I wasn't as focused as I could have been. But yeah, I played. I was pretty good. I was like, I wasn't as hardworking as I probably could have been. But
no.
Yeah, no. I think I was. No, that's not true. I think like 13, 14, 15, 16, I was like just a slave to it. Like it was like 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. And I got down to, I was playing off scratch or something like that.
If you had to analyze yourself as a player, both then and now, because you picked up, and we'll cover all this, but you've picked the game back up since, and you're playing some tournaments and whatnot. Like, what's the scouting report on your game? Strengths, weaknesses, all of these things.
I've always been able to hit the ball pretty long.
Big guy.
Yep. Tall, big levers. I've always been able to hit the ball pretty long. My mid to short iron play was not great. I had a good short game because of Brett. Growing up, I had a really good coach.
And Brett is?
Brett Rumford. He taught me, like, he's the best short game I've ever seen in my life. And he sort of mentored me through my adolescent years. And, like, he was the guy that taught me what, like, hard work was. Like, we would get down to, like, Royal Perth where they gave me a membership. It's, like, on the same street as my house. And the chipping facility there, Brett, like, gave me a shag bag, and we'd spend hours and hours in those bunkers. So I had a good short game. Always been a terrible putter. I'm a terrible putter. Only in the last year have I become like a good putter. And it's like a joke amongst friends now. They're like, since when can you putt?
What did you do to change it?
It was something Trotty told me. It was like start lines. It was like, I always tried to putt like Tiger. Like it was always like, I always felt like square feet, square this, and always open, close a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas it would never occur to me that I could like, Trotty said, why don't you open your stance and just sort of, have your shoulders square and your arms square and feel it a bit more. Because he's like, you look like this like robot. He's like, he's like, you've got good hands and when I see you hit pitch shots, you can see the brakes. You know where to stop it, and it'll roll towards a hole. And then you miss the little 3-footer coming back because you're going like this. So I started I opened my stance and I put it off my front, kind of like that feel move, I guess what it is like. So I started doing that, and then my start lines was everything I focused on, like just string lining stuff.
Yeah.
And
Chalk line.
Yeah. And once I started doing that, and then you get a confidence roll, and then now I'm like reading putts better, because if you have no belief in that little ability to just get it online in the beginning, there's no way you're holding it. I couldn't I don't even know where I'm starting this.
Yeah.
You know.
I see straight lines personally, and so I got all messed up too.
What do you mean?
Like so some people see arc.
Yeah.
You know, in the stroke, I mean.
Yeah.
But my best putting has been where I think about just straight back, straight through. And so you can create like little, best putting I ever did, I created, you'd stack 2 long irons on top of each other.
Yeah.
Right? And create like little guardrails. But also you need the right putter. So like center shafted putters are really good for this. Mm-hmm. You can like lock in the left wrist.
Yeah.
Have a really choppy stroke. I really enjoyed that, because then I don't have to think about inside, outside, am I squaring the face?
Well, this thing, I had like Newport 2s and Newport 1s, like they were the putters that I like bummed off Brett growing up. And then all of a sudden, like, I never thought about having a mallet because I wanted to be like Tiger and Adam. And then he went to like a broomy, so then I was like, well, maybe I can have something which is more like face balanced. Yeah. So I got this thing from Scotty Cameron. It's like a really everyone's like, what is that? It's like it's like the prototype of that, not Futura, but the Phantom. Yes. It's like a Phantom prototype with no badges on it, and it's got
combi. What's that?
It might be.
Yeah,
it might be.
Yeah, big spaceship looking thing.
Yeah, but it's got nothing on it. It's like a blank thing, and it's got lots of lines on it. And that's when I started doing the like. I stopped seeing the open the gate, shut the gate. It was like I need to get it like, and then my visual was always pick a point like a foot in front of like less than a foot in front of my putter, and let's roll it over that. Yeah. So it was like, so now I pick like 3 or 4 key points on whichever way it's going. I'm like, gotta roll it. It's got to fall in there, but I think it's like that. Yeah, if I don't get it on that line, it's never going to roll over that. So I just started focusing on that, and then I started putting really well, sort of like beginning of this year, and it kind of fell off like 2 months ago. I've been putting like shit.
For younger people like myself, especially Americans, could you explain a little bit about the legend of Brett Rumford, as you were doing so before this podcast?
I'd met him. I was sort of. When I got into Royal Perth Golf Club, they sort of gave me a membership if I would play pennants. Well, they gave me like it didn't cost my mum anything.
And pennants are tournaments?
Yeah, or pennants is club to club match play.
Oh, gotcha. Inner
club stuff. So like you have your best 7 players play. It's Ryder Cup. And they were like, if he plays for our pennant team, and I was kind of like, I think I was probably like a 16 or like 14 handicap, and my dad lived in the neighborhood, and they were like, can you get Cam's really into golf? And I was like 14. But I remember I was there, and he was on the chipping green, like just he's grouping around this hole. And I remember he left a ball out there, and I ran up to him and I gave him this ball that had his name on it. And I was like, hey, and he was like, oh, thanks. He said, you didn't want to take that? And I was like, no. And I gave it back to him. And then someone in the pro shop was like, Cameron is the new junior here. And then, but he's like, I've never seen like anyone around the green like that. And I think, I was saying before, I think it was Lee Westwood said, like, they were interviewing him in the height of his career, and they were like, if you could pick any aspect of anyone's game, and he said, I'll take my driving, and he's a really good driver of the ball at the time. Tiger's putting, Tiger's iron play, and like out of the blue, it was like Brett Rumford's short game, and they were like, whoa. And because, I was talking to Adam Scott about this like 3 or 4 months ago, they're like, he's a wizard. It's like, and I would love if he had more, amongst pros, everybody knows.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have a big social media presence or anything like that, but like amongst pros, everyone's like, I was at Pebble and 2 years ago, and a couple of pros yelled at me at a bar or at a party. I think it was in the tap room. They're like, hey, you're Rummy's buddy. Tell him I want some in lessons. Like, and it was like, it's like they know, like he's a really, really great short game player.
We need to go find him. I mean, like you
should interview, but get him on this.
You should go do a lesson on YouTube with him. I mean, he sounds like a deep state guru.
Yeah, it's really, really remarkable. And just, I mean, like his swing coach, he's a great swing coach as well. It's his knowledge and his commitment. I've never, like, he was the one that like would get me. He lived on my street. He would pick me up before school and like take me to the gym. And I'd go to the gym with him, and I would like practice. And then after school, I would meet him at Collier Park, which was like the Muni near my house. and then I'd practice with him until it was dark. We'd go play holes and chip and putt. I was like his little sidekick, and I caddied for him as I got older. But like, we came second to. I looped for him, and we came second to Jared Lyle in the New Zealand Open one year, which was crazy. And yeah, I got to know Jared pretty well as well. I think I was 16, something like that. So I sort of like, and he sort of like was like, took me under his wing. Was like, you're going to be a golfer. Like, and like he's like, you're good enough. Like you're good enough. But like, yeah. I've never seen anybody, still to this day, like, man, when I go back to Perth, he gets up in the morning, he rides his bike 150 kilometers, and then he comes back, he'll play golf, and then he'll go to the gym in the afternoon, give 10 lessons. He's just like Mr. Golf.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is Perth like? What was it like for you growing up? Like, how did it shape you? All those things.
I mean, I was born in Fremantle, which is like the port town just next to there. It's like 20 minutes away. And then we moved up into the northwest, and I lived on like a mostly indigenous community. Nearly, like, I think me and my brother were some of the only 2 white kids in town until we were like 3 or 4. And then we came back down. So I lived in like the northwest. So if you go to Perth and then you go another 4-hour flight north, that's Broome. And we lived like near Cable Beach in Broome. And then, so that being, as far as like shaping who I am, that was a cool. I mean, like, you can't be prejudiced if you're the minority, in communities like that. And I came down, and then we lived. Perth is kind of like this big country town. It's kind of playing golf there was like there's 3 or 4 like incredible golf courses. They're really good golfers. Like I feel like it was always like people from there, golfers from there, worked really hard because they thought, if I'm going to get out of here, I've got to really bust my ass. And that was the same thing with music. I feel like that's why there's been some great stuff in music come out of Perth in the last couple of years, is because there's 2 things. It was like, there's no one's ever going to find us here, so we can make our own fun and just do whatever the fuck we want. I thought that was like one thing. So it was like, when I started playing music, it was like, playing like 10 bands, because like that's all we had to do, was put our gigs on in people's garages on the weekend and things like that, because no one ever thought they were going to get out of there, so we'd make our own like fun little there's a really good community there. So I guess in that sense, I mean, other than that, it's like being around the water. My dad worked on that. He worked as a harbour master there for a while. So I grew up on boats when I was really little, because it's got one of the most beautiful coastlines you've ever seen. Perth, yeah, it's like, I always say it's like, imagine Southern California, but there was like no people. It's sort of like, you can drive, if you drive in any direction in Perth, it's like, from Perth, you go up the northwest, and it's like these cliffs in this crystal blue water. Like, and you can be on a beach on the edge of like a sheep station, and there's no one for 100 miles, but it looks like it's from like a commercial, like a Bahamas commercial, because the water's so clear and the sand is so white. So, I mean, how that formed who I am, it's hard to put a finger on what that is. But
What was your entrance into music like? How did that appear?
My mom was my mom sung. Actually, how my mom and dad met, we were. My dad drove this ferry that went down the river for like wine cruises, because there's like a wine district in this one river. My dad drove the boat, and my mom used to sing on the boat, like, because my mom's a really good singer. So my mom would sing on the boat, and then that's how they met. And so like my mom got me into music when I was really young. It was just like in the car, and just sort of always encouraged me to have it wasn't encouraged me, but there was always music around. She was always singing and things like that. And then and I always thought I wasn't much of a musician as a kid. Like, I always thought I was like, no, I wanted to be a baseball player, or I wanted to be a sports person. But it was like, I found these pictures of me, and it was like me turning a tennis racket and putting shoelaces on it and pretending it was a guitar. And so I was always it was mostly from my parents. From my mum. My mum got me into music when I was pretty young.
Who were some of the acts or sounds that maybe influenced you?
Presley was the first one. It's like I Live and Die by Elvis Presley. It was like, I just remember, that's like my earliest memory is like singing. My grandmother had this like remember those like tape box sets that folded into a book?
Yeah.
I mean, there was like 8 tapes or 12 tapes in there. My grandma had one of those, my mum had one. So like Elvis Presley was the first one, and then My mum used to play like Aretha Franklin in the car. Especially, I have this vivid memory of like when my parents were separated, and I think it had something to do with like her like woman empowerment. She'd listened to like so much Aretha Franklin. So yeah, it was Aretha, Elvis. They're the two ones that stand out. And then my mum listened to a lot of jazz, Louis Armstrong, Etta James, Ella Fitzgerald. That was like the earliest stuff that I can kind of remember. Yeah.
So at what point do you does it appear to you that you can make a profession out of this, or that you wanted to?
I was so like into the golf thing, It was like it was everything I like lived and breathed it. I just wanted to be a golfer.
And you had ambitions to play professionally?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. Well, I could see it. Like I could see. I remember it was like Brett. It's something I could imagine in my mind. Like the guy who lived on my street was on the European tour.
Yeah, you had an example.
Yeah, and I remember then he got me. I remember the Johnny Walker Classic came to town when I was 13, and I got to see Ernie and Retief, Sergio. Like when Sergio was really young, he had a lot of attitude, and it was like I was like he's like in my mind. I was 12, and he was probably in his 20s, but I was just like I want to be that guy. So like it was that, and then music. I think, I don't know, golf's pretty dorky, you know, like especially back then.
You said dorky?
Yeah, it's probably not as like cool as it is now. Like now, like these guys have like, I still think golfers are dorks. Like, but they're our dorks, you know. That's how I feel. Like golfers are dorks, and I love it, and I love being one of them. But I remember like trying to talk to girls and stuff when I was like 15, 16. I was a weird looking kid in my early teens, and I was like, maybe if I play guitar, this will be like. And I was a surfer, and Jack Johnson played guitar, and so I'd like learn all these Jack Johnson songs, and like that maybe at a party I could like, you know. Anyway, here's Oasis. You know. I think that was like. I'm not even joking. It's like Tom Waits talks about the first time he ever saw a guy walk into like the dressing room of like it was like it said this room is for performers only. Like, and he was like, that's when I want to do that. And I remember thinking like, yeah, I remember my earliest thing was like, I loved playing music. I liked singing, and I learned how to play guitar with this guy, Adam, who was like a year above me at school. I'd go into the music room, and I all of a sudden I could sing and play. Like I could like perform entire songs. So as soon as I could do that, I was so like, I don't know if it's egomaniacal or whatever, but I would just start playing shows anywhere, anyone that would listen. And then I think the thing that switched was like, I think I was like getting good at this, and I could play it, and there was bands in Perth and stuff. But there was a golf tournament going on it was like a 36-hole thing. And on the Sunday, Oasis was playing with, it might have been Kings of Leon. There was a big music festival. And like, instead of going to the golf tournament, I went to go watch Oasis. I remember that was the thing, and I went and watched Oasis, and I was like, I want to do that. Like, that seems like the coolest thing in the world. Like, and I felt like it was within my ability. I felt like I could sing and play enough that I could like be in a band. Completely delusional.
It seems like it worked out okay.
Yeah.
Did you WD from this golf tournament? Were you playing?
Yeah, I was in, and it was like I was because there's this thing called the Paxton averages, which is like the state rankings. Yeah. And I was trying to get into the state teams and the Australian teams and all that stuff, and I just was like, no, I'm not going. Like, and I remember that was like, but that, and it was, if I think about it in hindsight, it was like a sort of pretty bright flashing light that like, this is, if I'm willing to withdraw from something that I wanted to do for a living to go and watch a band play, you know.
Well, I mean, it sounds kind of crazy to say, but not really. Like choosing both of those routes, you know, trying to play pro golf or in the music business. The music business seems to me like infinitely more hard, difficult to make, you know, because it's really not up, you know, there's a level that's not up to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like, it's insane when I think about it. And that's probably why I've written a bit about this, that I love the meritocracy of golf. Having been in the music business for like 20 years, it's like, I love that like, that it's just a number at the end of the day. The lowest number
Very
wins.
Easy to understand.
Because, I mean, in saying that, like, I hate bitching about the music industry, but it's like, I've seen so many incredible musicians who are incredible songwriters. And like, there's so much about music right now that like, it's not the best people in the room, it's the loudest people in the room, you know?
Wow.
And they've got a shtick. And whereas maybe that's why I've gravitated back to golf. But golf's always been there. It's like, golf taught me how to work hard. Golf taught me how to compartmentalize tasks. Like, it was like, you know, I learned how to practice. I would practice this for 2 hours and then that for 2 hours and then go play holes and you know, think about breaking down stats in a golf. Like, if I'm learning a song, I find it I can learn things very quickly because I think of the work ethic that I learned from golf. But yeah, I'll come back to what you were saying. Yeah, definitely. It's like, music was, that's when I say I was like, I got very lucky that I had a great community of musicians around me at such a young age. I mean, like, the idea of actually getting, the funny thing is, like, golf got me, almost pretty much got me the gig. So there was a head pro, a trainee pro at Royal Perth Golf Club named Alistair, and his cousin, his name's Sophie. And so I would get, and I was so tight with all the pros, we'd play every day. I'd go to like family functions sometimes, and then Sophie went to school with Kevin Parker. And
Tame Impala.
Yeah. And she said to me, she was just like, and I was playing in a band, I was still playing golf, and I was at some barbecue, and she was just like, what are you doing this weekend? You should come see my friend's band. They're called Tame Impala. You'd probably really like them. I think I was like 21. So I was sort of like already, like, still playing competitive golf, but I was kind of like, I had these two things. And she was like, why don't you come and see them? And then like, I met Kevin and we became really good friends. And then there was like that whole crew sort of welcomed me in. And that's when I really started like just full-time playing a lot of music. Kevin and Sophie are now married with 1.5.
So how about that? Cam Avery chooses music over golf because it's a better pickup line for women, and then thanks to golf.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, so in theory, it was all pointing me in that direction. It was that theory. Yeah.
What is being a part of Tame Impala been like? Like, you know, it seems. I mean, just kind of take me on that ride. Like, you know, you get with these local guys that become sort of an international success. Mm-hmm. What is it like being a part of a band versus? I mean, were you chasing solo projects?
Yeah, I had my own band.
Yeah,
I had my own band, and I had like I never called it Cam Avery. I don't think I had like the confidence.
Sure.
But Tame was like it seemed at the time like when I met them, I had like a band. I can't remember what it was called at the time. Something lame, but I remember like when I met Kevin and those guys, it was kind of just like these guys were so everyone lived in this one house. It was like Kevin and Jane and all those guys, and so I just said, hey Cam, when you come around for a beer on Friday or whatever, and then Kevin moved out of there and we moved into each other and into our own place. Me and Kevin became fast friends. And then Tame Impala had put out an EP and then an album. I think the first album was out by then. He actually asked me, I remember walking to get beers, he was like, hey, do you want to come and join the band? And I was like, nah man, I've got my own shit going on, thanks though. Like, I was playing in my band and playing drums for this other girl. And then a few years later, it was like, he was like, seriously though, like, I think my band, actually it was in America, my band was called The Growl, was opening for his band. It was halfway through the tour. He was like, you want to sub in for Nick? And that's when it all sort of like, and that's when like right before Currents came out. And then there was a sort of that was like the biggest album that Tame had.
Yeah.
But like being a part of that, I think to answer your question, being a part of that was like, it felt like, I don't know. I mean, I felt like there was these people that were doing something really, really interesting at the time. Like I felt like I wanted to belong to this like wave of I guess it was that style of music that was happening. Like I didn't really listen to a lot of psychedelic kind of 70s Stones, Zeppelin, any of that stuff until I met those guys. Like I was very much in this blues zone. And then like when I met those guys, I was like, there's this whole other world. Started smoking bongs and just sort of like having fun.
You became a rock star.
Yeah, for lack of a better word. But like I remember like I was in this sort of like Black Keys kind of, I loved like Sun House and Skip James, all this heavy blues stuff. And I had like a bottleneck. I played like slide guitar on stage and I was very much in this like sort of White Stripesy zone. music, and then like I remember like those guys introduced me into like prog and like a lot of Zeppelin and a lot of like that style of music.
Yeah.
And it changed my whole, and I just like, I felt like I wanted to belong, and I had a pair of, and the band, I remember that was at the time, like I had a pair of flare jeans because I wanted to be like Rick Danko from the band. I don't know, it just sort of like, it felt like it was the opposite of what I was doing in golf.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, I sort of just like dived into it, you know.
Interesting. Do you remember the first song you ever wrote? Like legit song that you then went and performed or sold?
Oh, man. Oh, that I sold? Like that I put on an EP?
Yeah, not like when you're a kid, like you write like a little song, but like, you know, that you...
Yeah, no, there was a song, there was this band I played called Red Shoes Boy. It was like, I think it was like my first like legitimate band. And there was a song I remember from that one called Rubicon. It was about, I mean, I love biblical references, and it was, you know, crossing the Rubicon. It's like mythology, I think. Yeah, I remember that song was a song called Rubicon. The first song that anyone ever paid attention to was a song called 369, which was like this like try-hard kind of Tom Waits. I had a band called The Growl, and I thought I was Tom Waits and Nick Cave all rolled into one. I was angry. It was all this like sort of really industrial. I had two drummers and like an upright bass player. It was all really industrial kind of angry, yelly music. Blues music. And there was a song called 369. I remember that was the one that when I would play it, people were like, yeah.
What does it look like when you're actually trying to make music?
It's changed over the last like 10 years. I used to be a lot more brave. It's funny you asked about the growl or the early music, is because I listened to something like from that. I found it, someone sent me it, and I was like, whoa, what the, like, I think Garrett Light showed it to me, and I was like, how did you even find this? Like, and I listened back to it a couple of times in the car, and I was like, I wish I was this as brave as I used to be. I used to just be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'd like, fuck you. Like, this is like I was like, here's what I'm gonna do, and I had like absolute conviction and belief in what I was doing. And now I've lost that, if I'm being brutally honest. Like, I wish I had a bit of that back. I'm getting it back. But I had made a solo album when I came out here in 2000. I released one in 2016 or 17, I think it came out. And I think now music's a bit more like it's always been lyric based. I'm dancing around the question. It's like I start with lyrics, and then I sort of try and find a melody around those lyrics, and then something rhythmic, and the chords always come last. But now I try to create structures. Like I'm making a solo record right now that is 8 songs with less than 8 track channels on it, with less than 8 chords, and trying to keep it within this sort of realm. Because when I make music for myself, I always careen off into these like areas, and then it gets so convoluted that I'm like, oh fuck it, and I just shelve it. Like I've made 5 albums over the last 6 years, and they're just sitting on hard drives. So I think music now for me, it's more of like a release for me. Like it's like if if I'm feeling something, I'll sort of do it, and I have a complicated relationship with writing music right now.
What do you think happened to the brave part of you? Because I think this is like something that most adults struggle with in one way or another. I was just saying this the other day to a friend about this same exact thing about my iron game. Yeah. I was like, I feel like I could hit irons like I was 17 again.
Yeah.
And I sort of romanticized that time a little bit because I just remember the good ones. I remember, knocking down flag sticks and like hitting big hooks and stuff. And
you hit the shot and just stride after you.
Gripping down and like, you do that. That's just what I remember. Yeah. Now, if I look at that, that was a horrific golf swing. Like it probably didn't work like it did now.
Think about like early Jordan Spieth. Like he had a different technique than he has now, but he was just the bravery. Yeah. Like
you didn't have these scars, like
that's what I think it is. And like that's like a big conversation, but I think it's sort of like I've had moderate success in music, but it's like I think it's like like things happen to you, like it's relationships. I write extremely autobiographical. Like everything is kind of like, it's like this like expensive, like my last album I think ran me, the first one I made in LA was like, I think I spent like 50 grand of my own money making it, because I was like, I'm going to make this opus. And we recorded the strings in like the same room that Alfred Hitchcock recorded Psycho in. And like and everything was like, I had like timpanis and strings and horns. I wanted it to sound like Scott Walker or like Lee Hazelwood, and I remember like that, having that like same. I still pretty much had it when I moved to America. It was like 2014. I had these grandiose sort of ideas of making music, but I think I used to say it was like this like $50,000 journal entry that I made my first solo album. You know, the most expensive journal entry. But
Why did you not put it out?
no, it's out.
Oh,
It's out.
this is the first one.
This is
Yeah.
this is
Well,
my
what about
first
the
album.
5 out of 6?
I think it's I went searching for something. I mean that album did okay, but I didn't do. I think I started caring a lot more about what people thought of me. You know, like I don't think that's what I mean. In saying that, I said loudest person in the room. I think like artists aren't like. I know this without sounding like a prick. It's like, I know I'm very musically proficient. I can play instruments and I can learn songs very quickly. I can sing and stuff. But that has nothing to do with being an artist. That's good. I'm a good performer. But I think being an artist in any field, whether you're a writer, you're a dancer, or anything you do, it's about bravery. It's about like being able to go like and stare yourself in the face a lot more. Like I think that's some things I've got to like deal with. You know, like sort of like I was in a conversation a year ago and someone was like, yeah, you just haven't found your voice yet. And I'm like, I'm 35 years old. Like, and they were kind of right. Like I've sort of made some stuff that I thought was the right thing to do. And then like, I probably took on that failure a bit too much, and then I'm just like, well, maybe I should do something else. So I made a whole album on an MPC, which sounded like a Frank Ocean kind of Kanye kind of soul album.
Yeah.
And I made an album was living in Italy for a couple of years. I made like I made like dance songs. I've made Christmas albums, just stuff that like trying to find a vehicle to say the right thing. And I think it's because I get frustrated with the limitations of music sometimes. I think that's as well. You need to be succinct when you're writing songs, and that's why I think I've been enjoying like writing prose a lot more, because I can just sort of say what I want to say.
Yeah.
Like lyrics has been the number one thing. Like Tom Waits is my messiah. Like he's like Tom Waits and Nick Cave and Leonard Cohen. Those guys are like my favorite.
When you say the artists that are successful feel more brave, do you mean that in like a self-promotion kind of way?
No. I mean like yeah. I mean, I don't think how brave is it to like do TikTok dances? I don't know. Like,
well, I just mean like the people that are, I find in any field that are super successful nowadays, just because of the tools in which you use to put them out, are like the most convinced. They're very good at convincing you like that thing is great.
Yeah.
You know, like what I'm doing, I'm so confident in this thing. I'm going to sell it to you. I'm going to hawk it to you everywhere. And then, you know, sometimes I sit back and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure anything is great that I do. You know, so there's like an element of that's like, you know, somewhat too self-aware, that you're like, I feel somewhat fraudulent telling everyone to go take part in this thing.
I think I said this last time someone asked me about it. It was like, John Mayer said it. He's like, when you have writer's block, it's like, it's not like you can't make it. You just can't listen. You're canceling things out. I do this a lot. Like I'll make something, write like an entire song, and if I don't get it out, my friend said to me, he's like, you should release all your stuff within a month of you making it, because it's all good stuff. Or like give it to someone or have someone do with it, because otherwise it just piles up, because I go, oh no, you know what? And then my mood changes and I'm like, I hate this.
This is what they call demoitis, right?
Yeah. Demoitis is literally the bane of my existence for the last 5 years. But it's like, I want to make something, and then, and then I hate it in a month. Like, I hate it. Like, it's like, but then you go, then full circle. Like the other day, I was looking for something on my computer and I found a demo that I wrote during COVID in my apartment when I was like, 10-inch nails and a beard living in during COVID. And I found this really beautiful piece of music that like, and it goes to show that like, I probably do need a better editor, like, or someone to help me. I said that publicly. I was just like, I don't want to make another album for myself. I don't want to make another thing by myself. I think after years of having like Kevin Parker and Alex Turner, my two like close buddies who I played a lot of music with. Those guys are such. I mean, Alex has the Arctic Monkeys that he records it with, but they're such solo creatives. Like no one touches Tame Impala albums except Kevin, and I thought I was like them. Like I thought I was like, I'm this sort of like, you know.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to realize that maybe I'm a better collaborator than I am just a solo act. Like you know, it still blows my mind when I think about Kevin making albums like just no one's sticking an oar in, you know, to give him like.
So he's doing every
everything.
piece of
He's
music.
like, I think he like mastered the last album. Like it's like, so like, but what I mean, like to make things, just to be in a silo, like to be that close to the elephant, I think it's insane.
Probably the outlier.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, he is. He definitely is. He definitely is. And same with Alex. He's so like, I mean, he brings stuff to his band and they massage it before it goes on an album. But like, I used to think I was like that, and I think as I get older, I'm like, and as I grow as a creative, I think I'm a lot better collaborator than I am just like a solo act.
Mind Game is all about the pursuit of better. And how does the best get better? Well, we're going to find out, because now there's a new Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X in play. That's right, 25 years after the first Pro V was teed up, Titleist has taken ball performance to new heights. Their R&D team asked tour players a simple question: what more do you want out of the Pro V1 and Pro V1X? The answer: more spin on scoring shots into the green and more speed off the tee. Both models do just that and are already being used on tour by Will Zalatoris, Wyndham Clark, and my boy, Ludwig Oberg. Now, Pro V1 is a great place to start if you've never been properly fit for a ball, but personally, I play the Pro V1X, and many out there are switching to the Pro V1X left dash. So here's what you need to do. Head to Titleist.com to learn more about all the new Pro V1 models for 2025, and then put one in play. It's the #1 ball in golf, and it just got better.
I'm sure your definition of success in the music business has changed since you first jumped in it. What do you think it is now?
The music business for me, I mean, I'm really happy. Like, I'm extremely lucky to be part of Tame Impala. I'm going to be part of that band forever. And I love watching the progression of that. For me, I think it'd be like, I used to say to my agent, I was like, I'd love to be able to, it was more of a symbolic thing. I'd love to be able to play the Beacon Theatre every year for the rest of my life. You know, like, so like have a big enough following that I could sell 2,000, because I lived in New York. It was like, I could sell 2,000 tickets in New York once a year. I think that's like that. For me, I'd love to be able to make music that just is therapeutic for me, and that resonates with enough people that, I mean, I like smaller shows rather than bigger shows anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like it's very smug of me to say, well, you know, playing arenas isn't that great. No, but I mean, playing arena shows and festivals, like, it's like the funnest. Like, Glastonbury is my favorite thing.
Everyone says this about whether you're a comedian or whatever. Like, you know, the more intimate a setting is.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
the better the thing connects.
Yeah, we're starting a concert series in Venice for that very reason, because I love playing in a room full of 50 people.
Yeah.
And you can feel the air, or like, and it's because I grew up playing. I like, before I was in bands or anything, I just to pay the bills when I was 17, I would play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night for like $200 or something like that, cash. At gigs, I would play like 30 covers, 3 sets of like 10 covers. And like, so I grew up in playing barroom music, where you've got to like capture that. They're not your crowd, you got to get them. And I think that's why I love. So music for me, I think success would be able to put out an album every couple of years, on my terms, and play, be able to sell a couple of thousand tickets in the big cities, you know, and tour every couple of years with that. Like, I think it's got to, I've got to silo it a bit more. I just don't think that people want to listen. I think listenership of music is changing so quickly that, like, I don't want to be a social media star on, you know, with my music and things like that. Like, and I feel like that's what it takes these days. You've got to be like utterly self-promotional with all of that kind of thing, and it takes a different beast to like to be like to be a really big success in music like that. Like, the labels and the industry don't even want to know you unless you've got a big TikTok following.
It changes the skill set of a musician almost.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like again, coming back to like Alex and Kevin, like and the Arctic Monkeys and Tame Impala, they were signed off MySpace, but this is before like people were taking selfies and things like that. Like, you're lucky if you see, you know, like they don't post pictures of themselves. They just they work really hard on their music and they put their music out.
It's amazing how many people were found on MySpace during that little blip, like before the rest of social media. Yeah. And it almost like I wonder, I don't remember. Never had a MySpace, but like, who were these people crawling around MySpace?
Me.
Like,
it was like
yeah.
I remember like, and it was like, you know, you got to think people come on, same thing, trying to get girls to like you. You know, they come on your page and you have to have a cool song playing.
Oh, really?
You know, because you had these like 5 songs on the right hand side of your MySpace page that were like your like defining.
Your top 5?
Yeah, I can't remember what mine were. It was probably in the Vines or something.
It's like a dating bio.
That's what I'm. Well, I think that's what it was. It was like a friend. It was like a pre-Tinder kind of like. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But So, but I still love the mystique that artists have these days. It's like, I was talking to my friend who's a manager the other day. She was like, it'd be cool if you posted you playing guitar like selfies on your Instagram once a week. He's like, people really love that. I'm like, yeah, people love Coca-Cola too. Like I mean, like, all people love lots of things that aren't, you know, that I don't want to do. I don't know. It's like, it's weird. I will do that. I probably, in saying that, I probably will post a couple of songs on my thing, but it's like, yeah, I do miss when you could be a bit like, you could have a bit more mystique about you as an artist. You were just an artist. Like no one's seen Tom Waits in like years. But if he put out an album tomorrow, it would sell millions and millions, you know, because he's an artist.
It almost feels like now there's a point, if you do want to do the mysterious artist act, like there's like this like short little runway, like you got to get escape velocity.
Yeah.
And then you can go away for like 4 years at a time.
Frank Ocean, classic.
Yeah, there you go.
Classic. Like he had a big blow up, but still he was just before selfies came in. I think it was like I adore Frank Ocean. I think he's amazing, but like you'd never see him out in the wild, you know. Like and then but he's probably one of the highest selling sort of R&B artists of the last decade.
Yeah.
And
it was right. It's like if you got in before 2011, 13,
maybe I want to say 2014. You could just be an artist and just do whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah. And like the music was good.
And now, especially because now it's making me feel old, but it's like now you're like nostalgic, and all the kids like it's like my golfing buddies who are in their 50s, their daughters are all like 17, 18. They're like, oh yeah, Tame Impala. It's like retro. It's like. Cool.
Tough.
The old school.
2025 already.
I was gonna say like that makes me feel old. I was like, Jesus. Yeah.
What is what is I'm really interested in like what it's like to perform, you know, and how that differs. Like, is performing arenas harder than the intimate setting or easier? Like,
I feel like there's two parts to that question. Like, I get more of this like emotional kind of rush when I'm playing in front of smaller crowds. Like, kind of just like. I think it's like I was talking about this with my mum. Like, I don't know if it's a control thing or like so it's my psychology thing. I feel like I hate crowds of people. Like, I hate big crowds. But I was like, when I'm in a crowd, it's like 1,000-person theater, and they're like, and you can hear a penny drop, and you're kind of like, that performance is like, I like it better than making albums, better than recording albums, better than doing anything. Is performing solo and like in those kind of settings. So it's kind of like a big emotional release. Playing arenas and like Glastonbury is just the funnest thing. Like it's, or like for me and my buddy, because you got to think also I've known like the Tame guys and the Arctic Monkeys guys since I was like a kid, or like, you know, in my early 20s. So like getting on stage in front of like 100,000 people with Kevin, Jade, and Dom and Julian is like, it's just fun. Like really, really fun.
Is it stressful for you?
Yeah. I always get nervous. Like, there's like, I have a checklist of things. That's like, if I know when I know what the set list is, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this thing that sequences this, that starts this part of the show. I've got to think about the first 5 things. And once I've done those things, and you get over those first little like jittery things. So like, I'll practice like if we're opening with like that Let It Happen song. It's like goes dun, 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 and then that's like a really fiddly thing that I've got to play with my pinky. And if I'm not concentrating, I'll fuck it up. So I'll practice that in the dressing room 15 minutes before we go on, and then I'll practice the next bit, which is quite a bit fiddly as well. And once I've got like inertia, confidence inertia, then I'm having fun. But but it's always nervous. It's like, you said that, it was like, and it rings true. If you're not nervous, you don't care.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Like,
I meant to ask you about that, but like, what is your practice of actual music like?
Me personally?
Yeah. Is that a skill that is it like riding a bike? Is it like
Yeah, I mean,
intensive?
like if I've got like a big tour coming up, I'll start playing like 2 months out, just because it's like bass is a different thing. Bass is like very physical. I mean not very physical, but physical enough that like you want to get that motor memory up, because it's sort of and especially tame bass is quite fiddly. It's like someone's like, it's like lead bass guitar. You're playing a lot.
Yeah.
So like I like, yeah, if there's a tour coming up, I'll practice a bunch, especially if there's like new songs. I'll get sent stuff and I'll learn it. But for me, I play guitar every day. I used to have a piano in my apartment in New York. I play every day. But it's not like a practice. That's why I'm not like a session guy. I mean, I can play all the instruments enough to record and play in your band, but I'm not a virtuosic at anything. But like I can't read music. And
What?
I can't read music. Like, yeah, like I play everything by ear. Like I can hear something and learn it very quickly. Like if you played something on the phone or whatever, I could figure out what key it was and pretty much what the chord progression was within a minute. But I can't, if you put a stave in front of me, I've got like no idea.
Is that unusual?
I feel like there's a lot of people who can't read music.
Really?
Yeah, but I laugh that I've made it this far without being able to read music. It's like when we were doing string arrangements on my first solo album, I remember humming. They're like, and there's someone who could read, and they were changing and I would go, can it be more like this? It was guy Eric Gorfain, really amazing string arranger and performer. He has an amazing quartet that was playing on my album. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, there's a different note there. And it's like, and you see them all pull their pencils out and change the notes on the page. But yeah, no, I can't read music. But so to coming back, I was like, I'll play. It's more of a writing thing. Like I write a lot. Like it's sort of like bits and pieces of a song a week, and I've got like I've probably got 40 songs that are like 60 to 90% done. So that's more of the fun thing for me, is if I hear a melody, if I'm driving in the car or something, and I'll come home, I'll make a voice memo in the car, and I'll come home and kind of like try and hash out whatever that melody is. And especially when I had a piano in my apartment, I'd play, I think probably in 2015, I had this big grand piano in my loft, and I would sit and play there for like hours, because that's one of my favorite things to do.
So you don't need to, excuse me, I don't play any instruments.
No,
I don't,
yeah.
I took one piano lesson when I was 9 and quit.
Yeah.
How do you learn, when you say you play all the instruments, like how do you get to a point where you can play that proficiently without knowing the...
Practicing, yeah, like, so if I have to learn something, it was like, I think when I was joining Pond, which is this rock and roll band, it's like, that it shares a couple members with Tame Impala. Kevin was a drummer before, and then he left. And he was like, do you want to play drums? I was like, I'm not very good at drums. I was playing drums in this other girl's band, but I was like, kind of like, okay. Just sort of, it sounds so dumb, and it's like, but it's like, I'd hear it, and then it's like, you hear a drum fill that's like, yeah. And then I start going like, oh, so it's that, and then someone would go, it's actually left, right, like, yeah. And so then I would just do like that for like a day. Or if I'm learning, a Tame song or whatever song, if you show it to me, I'll pause play it and find out like the little bit. If I can't hear it, usually I can sort of pick up the main, the broad strokes. But but if I need what's called shedding, I guess that's if you're like really practicing. Like really good players do that. But I'll practice the intricacies of something if I need to learn it. Like if I want to get, I remember when I had to go on tour with Pond. I was like a month straight. I drove my girlfriend crazy because I was playing drums every day for like 2 or 3 hours. But learning their songs, like learning Pond songs, or learning like, I remember I used to play a lot of Led Zeppelin stuff because it was like, I wanted to play drums like John Bonham, but I never practiced that much. I should have. But part of it's good, part of it's bad. Like piano, I'm probably best at piano. And I still, half the time I write songs. One of my best friends is a piano player, and he's like, you don't even know what that chord is, do you? And I'm like, nope. Like, so like, sounds good, feels good.
Are you looked down down upon?
No, I get made fun of a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the guys, I mean, the guys in Tame are like, they're monster musicians. They're great. Like they have, I don't know any music theory. They're like, Kevin goes like, if it's like, play the 7 off that chord. And I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's like G. I'm like, okay, cool, great. Or like I learned purely by like ear and stuff. And it hinders me in some places, but sometimes I feel like it's good for me. Yeah, it's like Dave, the piano player the other day, he said the wrong note turned out to be like a little, it just felt right to me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Were you, is there any overlap there with the way you learned to play golf? Like,
yeah,
you were self-taught kind of figure,
yeah, big time. Like, I would have Brett, but he was on tour, he was playing European tour. And there was another guy called Lincoln, and I would hassle them a lot about stuff, but I was very like, it definitely like instilled this like crazy work ethic.
Yeah.
When I want to learn something, if I'm obsessed with something, it's like, I think it's like that bit of that like spectrum-y thing. Like I'll focus on something so much. My life is crumbling around me, but I'm like the thing that I'm good at. So people go, oh, you're a scratch and you're in this rock band. I'm like, yeah, but that's it. There's these 2 things. Don't put up a spreadsheet in front of me, man. I was like, you know, like I was like, I'm terrible at it all, at nearly everything else. But it's like, but definitely golf was like a thing where, and it was through Brett. Like it was like, I remember it was like, he taught me what like just grinding was. And I used to love it. We were talking about this before we were rolling, shag bag grinding, like just sitting there like hitting shots, learning how to hit little cut spinners and hit little draw spinners. And like I learned, and I really, really loved it. And so, I mean, it's like that old saying, if you love what you're doing, it's not hard. Like I wanted to learn how to play drums because I wanted to be in Pond. Yeah. So I just would play all day, every day. And as soon as Kevin was like, when Kev asked me to play in Tame, he was like, do you want to play bass? I'm like, I'm not a very good bass player. He's like, I've seen you play bass. You can play bass. And then so I remember it was the end of another tour. All my friends were fucking around in New York. We had this apartment in New York. All my friends were going getting drunk at McSorley's and like in the Lower East Side. And I was on Eldridge Street with a bass and like the last show that Tame Impala had played, learning how to play Tame Impala songs. Like just because he was like, we need you in like 2 weeks in Barcelona for like this tour. So it was like,
yeah, you know, you said it earlier, but like the greatest I think lesson golf has ever taught me is that 8 hours every day. This is as a kid, obviously. Yeah. Like, and very few, you know, I was lucky enough to have that time in the summer to do this, but like 8 hours every day at anything, or 10 hours stacked up day after day after day.
Yeah.
Is undefeated, you know? You will see the results come. It's eventually.
And that's what it's like. I was about to say something that was like adjacent to like kids these days, but it's like, because everything's so easy. Yeah, I do feel that all of them. Like, but I mean, I was just in saying that, Brett, same thing. Man, I remember the conversation I had to go and say to him one day. I was just like, I don't think I'm going to be a pro golfer. And he said to me, he's like, pick one thing, devote all of your life and your time to it, and you'll be good at it. Yeah. He's like, just shed it. And much to the point, and it sounds so dumb and might sound a bit smug or arrogant, but it's like, I didn't play golf for like 10 years. Or I played like 5 times in 10 years during like that sort of 20 to 30 age. I played a little bit in there, but never like on a regular basis. It was like if somebody asked me, I'd go and whack balls around. And then like, I think it was like my 3rd round out at Ojai when I started playing again. I was like, shot a 76 and drove one of the greens, because it was like, and to your point, it's like, I just spent hours and hours and hours and hours just like P1, P2, like just hit, like learning how to hit, like I used to just like I used to get Adam Scott's swing out of like Golf Magazine and go, I'm gonna swing it like that. Like, you know, and that's like, and that muscle memory just doesn't go away. No, it's like because I did it for like you said, like, man, in the summertime, it was like we'd get there at 7 a.m, wouldn't leave until like 8 p.m. when the sun would go down.
But you really, you know, at the same time, it didn't really feel, it's not like working a job. It's like that thing is so fun and you love it so much that the day kind of flies by. But you do start to see, especially as a junior golfer, that like, okay, the time that I spent, you know, when I go play the next tournament or I go play the next round, I can see improvement, real improvement happening. And that snowballs somewhat, that thing snowballs for life. Yeah, like whatever you want to do. You know?
Like it was like this year I was like playing in that USGA Mid-Am qualifier, and I I'd played like 10 shows in Europe, solo stuff, and I was like, I'd picked up a golf club for 2 months, and I was like, great, I've got 2 weeks in this fucking thing in Iowa. And so I went to stay with my friend in Iowa, and he's a member at this cool club called Short Hills, and I just went out there every day, and it was so fun, dude. I was out there every day, just like literally just grinding like I used to. And the first 3 or 4 days, I was just like, I could not control my driver. I was just going like, I'm gonna shoot a fucking 100 in this thing. And I was putting okay. Short game was nearly there, but I just couldn't control my driver. But I was like, I've just got to keep doing it. And I was like, and I knew it. So I had about 6 or 7 days before the qualifier, and I was just out there every day, just sort of like working on like, I know that if my head stays stable, I won't move off the ball, which means I won't get trapped, which means I won't move it left, or I won't spray it right. And I know it will come true. And then like the day before, I played the practice round, and I just started feeling this feeling, and I was just like, yes, this is the accumulation coming to fruition. I missed like 3 fairways in the qualifier.
Yeah.
Like, so all of a sudden I had this thing on a rope.
Isn't it a great feeling when it pops up, and all of a sudden, I don't know what it is, like you know, you could be all out of sorts, and then you take a practice swing, and then all of a sudden everything settles inside you. You know?
I remember it was it's little things that like it's hard to explain to anyone else, and maybe I guess if anyone is like working really hard on any skill, like I was like, all right, I got to grip down on it like 1/4 inch. Yeah. I was like, and just feel like my, like, if I can see my shadow, just don't move the brim of my cap in my takeaway.
Yeah.
And then, and I almost felt like I was swinging like Scheffler, like really straight up and down the line, and keep my weight on my left side. And it was like,
light bulb moment.
Oh, yeah. And then it was just going bang. It was like this bullet thing. It wasn't like this big boomy thing. It was just sort of bullet thing going 300 yards and running out.
Yeah.
And I remember the feeling of like confidence. But then it snowballs.
Yes.
And you got to try not to be Icarus and try.
Well, I mean, so I was playing Pioneers No. 2 last year in March, and I'm hitting it everywhere, and I'm doing okay. I like get to like 16, par 5, 16? Yeah. And I'm like 3 over, but I mean, it's a mess. And I'm like, okay, I went back to first principles. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Okay, feels open. Club face feels open, feels underneath, and I've got this like hooky thing going on. It's like, okay, what's the opposite of that? Okay, I'm gonna shut the face, going back. I'm gonna swing as hard as I can over the top, and rotate, and just dead straight. I mean, I didn't curve the ball for a month. That, you know,
it's like that thing. It's that feel. It's like that bravery thing. You got to jump off this ledge.
Yeah.
Is this gonna work?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, the worst I can do is I'm gonna snap hook this thing.
Yeah.
Left on 16. But I took one practice swing, and I was like, that's it. That's in the slot.
Man,
back in the slot.
Yeah. It's the craziest feeling in the world. But it's like the best thing when you like. Ball striking is one thing. When that feeling when you're holding everything. That's when you're putting really well. Obviously getting the ball around in any aspect of your game. When you get it dialed. When you're like, irons is probably one of the most satisfying ones. Hitting it long is whatever, but when you can go like, I'm going to cut this like 5 yards and hold it on the wind, and it's going to like go 177 yards. That's like that feeling is wild, and I think that's what I don't know why. I was talking to Brett about this a while ago. Like, I never had that killer thing in hindsight. Yep. I never had that, like, step on your neck, I'm going to beat you thing. I was obsessed with the art of hitting shots. I was always stoked about, like, oh, man, that's like, look at that. I can hit, like, a 3-iron 240, like, on the number. But I was never like that. I probably could have been scrappier, and I would have been a good competitive golf. There was, like, college talks and stuff like that, but it was, like, I don't think winning wasn't like my like it was like, and I think you need that nearly in any business. It's all good being great at guitar and piano and stuff, but unless I want to beat everybody else at it. Yeah,
I was never a killer either. I was too wrapped up in my own shit that I had going on to really like be able to be confident enough to be like, I'm gonna beat like that guy.
Oh man, my friend.
Because now the energy goes external. And there's chaos going on in here on the golf course. I just didn't have that gear.
Yeah, same with me. It was like my friends who I know who are athletes, like Brett, man. Like Brett's 10 years older than me, but if he's across the like table, across the ping pong table from me, He wants to like destroy me. I remember like it was like it's just built into athletes. Like we would sit on the plane next to each other when I would be looping for him, and he would pass like he would do a lap on his like PSP on Formula One or something, then pass to me and go, oh,
That was a great game.
yeah.
That was an awesome game.
I'm terrible at video games.
They need to bring. Yeah, I don't have any video games, but PSP was
Yeah.
legendary.
Yeah, so he would pass it to me, and then he would do a lap, and then it would be this like he would just want to win, like, and I hear, and the pro golfers that I know, they're just or any athlete I know. Oh, it's particularly I'm quite good friends with Andrei Pekovic, who's like amazing. She's former top 10 tennis player. They just have that gear that like and talk about work ethic. Same thing. Like she was a grinder too, and that's the thing. You got to have that click in your mind where I'm going to grind and that is how I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And then crunch time stuff is when you add the two together, then you get like Tiger Woods. You know?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it's weird. Like I feel like I have the grind piece, but like I don't really care enough about like I don't really get a ton out of like beating people or something.
Yeah.
Like that competitive thing.
Trotty said that to me. It actually helped me. I mean, I didn't play bad. It was great. I had his and this guy Jay Barron, who's a really good friend of mine from Perth. I had their voices in my head when I was playing, and I got nervous. This is a USGA guy going like from Soul Park Golf Course, Cameron Avery, like in the middle of Iowa, playing with these two college guys who were like good. And but I remember like Trotty was like, forget about the shots, man. Just like, and that's what I said. He's like, you've just got to remember that. Trotty always says is when there's a scorecard in your hand, it's different. If you're hitting for hit and giggle.
Yeah.
And I remember just like thinking like those percentage stuff that he sort of. And all of a sudden, that's like I said, I was like 2 under in a USGA event, like at 9. And I was like, whoa, all right.
What'd you shoot that day?
I think I finished 1.
Under?
I got it. I was 2, and I got it to 3, and I was like, oh, here we go. Like, and then made a really piss weak bogey, like razzed it off the front of this like platform on the screen. Then hit it left on this par 3, made it crazy up and down. Even like the state whatever college coach was like. I made this crazy.
You're like, I get eligibility.
Then I started pulling that driver, and I pulled my bad shot to pull this driver into the trees on the par 5, punched out with a 4-iron, made up and down for birdies, and I'm back to 2. Yeah, and then back to I only got it to 2, so I went to 2. No, I did get it to 3. I must have made another bogey.
Check the.
I should
Iowa
check. I
State
can't
Golf
remember.
Association
But then
website.
but then there was a par. The next par 4, smoked one down there, and then hit the pitching wedge like this. But it was like this, missed the putt. Now I'm in my head. I'm going like, ugh. Par 17 is this par 3 down the hill, and I'm like, don't go at that pin. I said to myself the next day, I was like, don't go at it. It's gonna like, because it was like long rough around it. Missed the green, but I made up and down. And the last hole runs up the driving range. This is at Zach Johnson's place at Elmcrest. And I was like, I should just hit a 4-iron down the middle, and I'm still only gonna have like a 52 or something, and then make a birdie. And I pulled it on the driving range, and maybe I shot 2 under. Yeah, I think it was just par 71. I don't remember, but it was like I pulled on the driving range, made bogey, missed by 1.
Devastating.
That's what I mean. No, because I think all of a sudden that's the thing. I got it in my head that I could win this thing.
Yeah.
Like I was like I can win or get into the playoff. You know, the guys who I was playing with who were like veteran mid-am guys. This is my first competitive tournament in 20 years. And not that long, 15, and they're like, yeah, 4, because I was 3 under, and they're like, we were rooting for you because 4 won it, so that was annoying.
That would have been a great story. First round back.
What, qualifying for the mid-am? Yeah, well, next time.
Yeah,
next time.
It's hard to close rounds, like even when you don't have like that developing that skill of playing tournament rounds.
That's what I mean, and it's sort of like. I should have written about on the fade, just going like, yeah, it's like closing is like, in any round. My friend got in my head the other day at Bel Air, I was like 4 under through 7. He's like, what's your best round out here? I was like, shut up, Nick.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah, closing in any round. I played I was 4 under going to last at San Diego Country Club. Biggest, most generous fairway you've ever seen. And I just like, somebody asked me, one of the members was like, are you 4 under? I'm like, yeah, I am. And I haven't shot 67 in 8 years. So I hit it into Chula Vista, right? I mean, I hit it into Chula Vista Highway.
Yeah.
There's no need, you know?
Yeah.
Just that little, like, I'm 1 shot away
Yeah.
from having a wedge in, and I can get it in from there.
Yeah.
Huge hurdle to clear.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you appreciate the guys who do. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like
The guys that take it deep, that get to that point and then say like, I'm gonna get one more.
man,
I'm gonna get two more.
It's those guys when they're like 4 or 5 under on tour, and those courses are set up just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could.
There's an article in there though, like when you get to that point, there's two mindsets. There's like
protect,
get me in the clubhouse,
Yeah.
protect, and I smell blood in the water.
Yeah.
You know, and part of me thinks that like you're born one way or the other, and no amount of psychology and therapy will get you there.
Yeah.
And then the other part of me like started this podcast to figure out what, if you could get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that about. I mean, art's different. Like I said, it's like I always think I always try and like, and anyone who's been around me in music or in the studio and anything, I always try to push try and like they used to call me like Captain Extreme, like because I was like I always wanted to like go that extra sort of. It's like that's why I forgot my game plan. That's why I didn't play well at the end of that thing, because my game plan was like hit it there, don't hit it there. Yeah. So all of a sudden I'm going. It's like like I said, flying too close to the sun. I'm like, oh man, I'm 2 under. I was like, maybe I should just rip a driver up near the green like I've been hitting this thing all day, and make an easy birdie. You know what I mean? Because and whereas my game plan on my little scorecard is like hit a 4-iron and a wedge.
Very soon we will be 1/6 of the way through 2025. That's more than 15% of the year. I know. It's shocking. Every day counts when you're chasing big goals, and that's why I drink AG1 every morning. As you can see, it's right here on my desk with me. Just one scoop every morning means I start each day with an automatic win. I'm giving my body and brain the nutrients and vitamins it needs to perform its best. Energy is up. Clarity is up. Gut health and digestion, up. Did you notice that like everyone you know got sick over winter break? Not me. I even shook every hand in golf at the PGA show and still kept on chugging, no problem. That's thanks to the daily nutrients my immune system is getting thanks to AG1. So start stacking up those W's every morning with AG1. You do that, and your 2025 goals will fall into place. Best of all, AG1 is offering any new subscribers 10 additional travel packs. Here's what they look like. Throw them in the golf bag, in your backpack, briefcase, wherever you're going. They'll go along with you. You'll get a welcome kit and a bottle of D3K2 also in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/BTS24 to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/BTS24 to start building a healthy foundation for 2025.
Actually, this transitions nicely into the Fade, which is your newest golf endeavor.
Yep.
And you're writing about conversations that begin with golf.
Yeah.
So let me just throw this quote out there that I absolutely loved on this topic of Adam Scott and Fake Burberry. You wrote, "Some might see style as subjective. However, I've always seen it as the ability to perform a seemingly impossible task with an air of effortlessness. Or adversely, making a fairly simple task look somehow impossible. It could be the world record 100-meter sprint or just smoking the shit out of a cigarette." I think there's a spectrum to style. So what is the Fade? I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
What is the Fade? Why'd you start it? And how does it wrap up in your comeback to golf?
I started writing about it just for like, because I saw these sort of like this like Venn diagram of like the way that I saw it like crossing over. Like it was like, and it started with work ethic and things like that. Like I was like, I would not be as good at music if I didn't play golf. And for years it was just like people just would laugh, when I would say, "You used to play golf?" I didn't tell anyone I played golf when I was like in the sort of current era of Tame Impala.
Were you embarrassed? Or
a little bit. Yeah, like I was like I'd play sometimes with friends when I would go through Perth. I would take a friend and we'd go and play a bit of golf. But yeah, it wasn't like a cool thing. I thought it was just like this dorky thing. But then I sort of realized how like grounding it was. I went through a really tough time in my life in like 2000. I was getting separated, and I had this like period. I was living in Ojai, and I see, and my neighbor was a really big film director named Pete Farrelly, and I was just drinking a lot of beer all the time, and he came into my house and he was like, Cammy, if you're going to drink all day, you might as well do it on the golf course. And so I started going out and just playing with him, and then I found this sort of like golf is so self-accountable that it's like, and I think that really stuck with me, and that's how I sort of started writing about golf again, because I think it's like the mental ability it takes to play great golf is what I think is really like the therapeutic thing that happened for me, because there's like so in my field, so in music, you're telling stories, and there's these big stories, and then you come back and you wrap it up into maybe it's a chorus or like a coda on a chorus. Whereas, but you can paint all these you can paint all these amazing pictures when you're making anything in art. Whereas the finite thing of golf being just a number, it's like that thing, there's no pictures on the scorecard, is that I think I loved that. When I got back to it, I was like, well, if I would go out at Ojai at Sol Park and just play by myself at like dusk. And I was like, and I would try and shoot a number. Like I'd be like, and it sort of became this self-accountable thing. And if I haven't played enough golf, I haven't hit enough putts, or I haven't practiced, say, I'm not going to be good enough, and I'm not going to shoot the number that I want. So then all of a sudden there's expectations.
My good friend Brad Gale calls this the weight of the pencil, the power of the pencil. He tells me all the time. He says, "Pick up the pencil, Casey." Yeah. You know, like
it's like trotty, like you're holding the scorecard.
Yeah, you're copping out. Like, take the pencil's heavy.
There's
responsibility attached to it. Like write down the score.
Yeah. It's like,
just like,
there's all this stuff. Or there's all, and it's the allegories. So anyway, sorry to answer your question. So it's like I started writing about golf. That's just where the fade came from.
Yeah.
I started writing about golf because I was like, think about the allegories just to life. You can go on this like crazy journey. Like you could start birdie, you know, and then this and that, and then you got in the bunker, you nearly hit it OB, and you sclaffed it out and thing. And then when you get up to the clubhouse, you know, what'd you shoot? It's just that number. So the finite thing of that, and because it, you know, so the experiences are just yours. So any outlay, like, I mean, it's like writing songs. If I'm writing songs, this is the allegory I can kind of give it. If I'm writing songs and painting all these big pictures, people can take different meanings from that. Like you spit out this song at the end, but the journey of what you've gone through is kind of the thing that you remember, and the thing that the score is relevant at success, but like the experiences you take away from getting to that 74 or that 64 or whatever is the thing that's going to help you next time. You know, so that was where I kind of started, and I wrote that article. It was like struggling with my grip on stoicism. It was a grip ... on stoicism, because I was reading about stoicism, and I was like, well, if I was a better stoic, I would be a better golfer. And I just remembered all these little life lessons. I'll try and wrap this up. Like Brett, if you think about just pacing things out, achieving anything in life, Brett was like, what's the goal here? We're standing, I remember this, it was like the 15th hole at Royal Perth Golf Club. He's like, what's the goal here? And he would do these things with me all the time. And he's like, get the ball in the hole. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Now I'm catching on, and then he's like, what are you gonna do before that? And I'm still like, he's like, get it close to the hole. And what have you got to do before that? He's like, get it on the green. And what have you got to do before that? He's like, and I'm like, get it in the fairway. So what are you thinking about now? And I'm like, sort of pause, and he's like, hit the fucking ball. You know, like, so, and he's like, always have a plan, always know what you're gonna do, what the next step is, what the next 10 steps are. But if you aren't focused on exactly what you're doing right now, there's no point in what you're doing next. So it's kind of like, I feel like that's like super zen. Like I find it like, yes, know where you want to be. Because he would make me write things down. He's like, where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you want to be in 1 year, 6 month thing? And then my goals would break down all the way down to like, what do you want to be? What are we doing this week? What are we doing today? What are we going to do for the next 2 hours? So it became like achieving things for me. I think that incremental change became like a huge allegory. So when I started writing about golf, it became like I started seeing all these life lessons built into it. And instead of being this thing that I think golf gets tarred, golf gets tarred in my community as musician and entertainment. People are like, oh, that's in that for old fat white guys, you know? Like it gets tarred with that brush. And I was like, no, I think golf is like, can be incredibly like healing. Oh, not heal. I don't want to say healing. Like informative. It exposes you. You're the only person. You're the first and last person that is responsible. I had this conversation 2 weeks ago. Someone was like, so golf's like chess. I'm like, no, tennis is chess. Golf is yoga, because it's like you've got to know what you're capable of today. You've got to know how far you can push that thing. It's like, because at the end of the day, like, yes, there is a number, there is a score, there's a finite thing, but it's about like what you're capable of and what you're achieving. And I think the fade bit came from like publishing stuff, came from me wanting to fix that. What I saw at the time is like a bit of like, ugh, golf. Fix that a little bit, but also find something creative for me to do. Like I really enjoyed doing it. And also I think we were speaking about a little bit about this before, but it was I feel like men anthropologically don't create community as well as women do. And I think that's why, like, the vast majority, I don't know what the percentage is, isn't it like 86% of golfers are men, probably more. I think it's a way for us to really, like I said, we're not playing against each other. We are, but we're not. And sort of measure, this is like kind of like this measuring stick. So, and I think I wanted to share that. I think that's where the fade thing came from. I think golf is a great platform for, I don't want to use words like mental health and safe space and all that stuff. It's like just done to death. But I think it's a place where, you know, you and me go and play golf and we can spend 4.5 hours out there. And unless we hate each other, unless we really get the bad taste, like we'll talk about, you know, we'll get down the road, we'll talk about like, where are you from? Where are your parents from? Oh, you played here. Like I did this when I was a kid. Oh, this is what I remember, you know, from growing up playing golf, or this is what I love about golf. You know? Yeah.
And we were laughing because like you say like all these, you know, it's a great way to build community. And at the end of the day, like guys don't talk about shit really during the round.
Yeah.
They don't really say much, you know, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're
That's
around,
what I mean.
you know, maybe you have an issue at home, you find out that like your buddy is, or this guy is struggling with the same thing. So now you're not alone. Like it just creates like a little pocket where you could get that versus sitting at home.
I mean, like take it from me. Like I think I was getting divorced at the time, and it was like I was playing with these guys who were all probably in their 60s, and this group of golfers at Sol Park called the Pounders, and I was playing with these guys all the time.
Pounders.
Yeah, they're awesome, dude. Like it's such a fun group. I was up there like last week with my friend Don and Mike playing, but it was like this funny thing, and I was like, and I was 29 or 30, and it was like my life was collapsing around me and all this thing. I was like, oh, I'm getting divorced. They're like, you're getting divorced? I was like, I've had 2 of those. Like it was kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, no, I don't, but yes.
No, but you know, like that's what they said. They're like, I've had 2 of those. They're like I was like, oh, they're like, it's okay. How you feeling? Like this, like, hit a ball, have a beer. You know, like let's get the end of this round, and like, you know, it's like, you know, and I would ask them like, is this, and they would help me out with things. And there's no, I can't see another place other than like on a bar stool where that kind of happens.
Yeah.
You know? So it was like, in that way, I think it's I mean, it's hard for me to speak highly enough about golf. So the idea of creating a platform where I can create like a community around the game is like, is a dream for me. It's something I want to do forever. You know what I mean? So
are you like full on back, you know, like sicko mode with golf, or what is it?
I mean, today? I'm going to start doing my like Friday podcast again, doing that thing, that Words for the Weekend. I'm going to start playing golf. I want to try and play the mid-ams this year, just because it's, like I said, it keeps me like accountable. It means I've got to go to the gym. I'm going to go hit balls 2 or 3 times a week, play a couple of times a week. But as far as the fade, I'm going to try and build out. I mean, I look up to the Golfers Journal more than anything else. I think it's the best golf publication in the world. So we're going to do that. Maybe do some stuff on YouTube. Do some. We have like I'll start a podcast, I think. And then try and do some events. It's very similar to what you guys are doing, but I think just coming from music, I have a sort of a different lens than what the Golfers Journal does. Just purely from, I would love, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I always feel like the Golfers Journal it's golfers, and it's about golf, and it's in this zone. Even though I'm here and you're having me on, it's great. Whereas I always feel like I want to like sort of have these Venn diagrams of like some of my friends cycle, some of them run, some of them.
You do find, you know, I don't want to make this an advertisement for our event series, but like, you know, the majority of interaction I get with other people now is at our events that we do throughout the year, and then you find like these Venn diagrams of interest. From being around these people. So a lot of it's, you know, other men's interests, you know, whether it be cars, watches, or whatever. food, but but it's funny. Like I enjoy going to these things so much because we talk about pretty much every time we talk about other golf courses that we've played.
Yeah,
which is the most fun thing in the world, and like where the best restaurants you ate around them, and
this is what the fade is, and this is what golf is. I didn't mention this before. I get a bit jittery, too much coffee. But it's like I was sitting with Dom Curcio, and he's one of the guys who like founded Guggenheim Bank, right? Think about where he lives. Like he's from Chicago, and I'm from like the middle of nowhere, buttfuck Perth, And then we found ourselves just sitting at Bailey Country Club, just pouring over wine, and just talking about golf, and that the connectivity, the people that thought I would never cross paths with, like professional race car drivers, Major League Baseball players, musicians, hedge fund managers. Like, I mean, it's like it's crazy the walks of life, and then people go, "Yeah, I love golf," and I kind of want to harness that a little bit because it's like my friend called me the other day. He's like, "Do you want to play golf with Cat Williams?" I'm like, "Yes."
Really?
Yeah. He's a crazy golfer.
Yeah,
He's like,
I've heard.
Yeah,
I would love to.
A friend of mine's a huge comedy agent, and he was just like, "Do you want to play with golf with Cat Williams?" I was like, "Any day of the week."
Yeah,
like I would love.
No, I mean it is pretty sad that you felt embarrassed about being a golfer all those years, and I don't know how many. I think that was the case for a lot of people, and I don't know what changed. Like, COVID, people started playing, yes.
Yeah.
But like, I thought it's always been cool.
I mean, I've always thought it was like, I remember it was in 2019 when I just started playing golf again. We were headlining Coachella, and there was a big like after party going on after that thing in Coachella. And Bob Garza, who's the pro at Soul Park, was like, "I left you, Adam Scott and me." He said we can give you two clubhouse passes for the Masters in 2019. They're like Tigers in front. But we got off stage, we headlined, so we got off stage last, had this huge after party, and I was like, I'm never going to make it. Because of the weather, they teed off earlier on 2019 Masters. But I remember like, this was when I realized how much I cared about golf no matter what I was doing. And particularly because Tiger Woods had such a huge impact on me when I was a kid. There's this huge party going on, and everyone's in this big after party back at this hotel. And my friend was staying with me in my hotel room, and she's sort of like, "I'm going to bed." I was just like, and it was probably 5 a.m. because we'd been up all night after Coachella, like a big party. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just going, "Hey, can I have a pot of black coffee and a cheeseburger, please?" And I'm like, and I'd had a few to drink obviously that night, and I was just like, she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "Tiger's in front of the Masters." So like, I literally didn't go to bed, just went like, "Burk," and then sat there. And she was like, and I went into her room. When he won, I'm like crying. I was going, "He won!" She's like, "Get the fuck out of my room!" And I'm just like, and I was like, I just remember feeling that overwhelming thing that like how much I was like, this is like, and it wasn't like an aha moment, but I remember like when I think about it, that's how much I loved golf, and I was very unashamed about being a golfer, because it took, I guess, it's still every now and again it's like you talk to someone like, "You play golf?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Now I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Yeah. What's your problem? How come you don't?
Well, I feel like that switch has changed. That's like at the forefront, where more often than not it's, say you play golf, that's really rad, or I play too, or I just got into it. Like there's very few people that I feel like anecdotally just haven't. Very few people that haven't tried it, have no interest in it.
They don't even know what it is.
Yeah,
like, it's like,
but it's very few. It's less and less. These days.
Same thing. Another
thing.
Like tale from the tour bus. It was like a year ago. I was DJing this party, and then I finished, and Fisher was playing or something. I was opening, and then there was a guy. He's become one of my best buddies. There was a guy sitting in this stool there, and he's like, "You're a DJ?" I was like, "Not really. I do it sometimes. I play in a band." But he's like, "But yeah, no, I'm starting like a sports media publication." And this is like in a loud nightclub. And his wife was there, and this girl I was dating was there. And I said, he goes, and he was sort of facing this way, and it was like, "What sport?" And I was like, "Oh, golf." And he goes like, he's like, and then his wife just goes like, "Not the G word." She's like, and so then me and him were just sort of locked in and just started talking about golf for like an hour, like yelling at each other. I love the idea of that, us yelling at each other about golf over like in a nightclub was like hysterical when I think about that's how much we want to talk about.
I was saying this last night to somebody, the Trump-Obama interaction at Jimmy Carter's funeral.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of memes that came out that said they were talking about golf.
Had to be.
The next day, Trump's like, "Yeah, we're talking about golf."
Is that real?
Yeah. So like you think about like two of the most powerful people on the planet at this time. You know, obviously, this isn't a political show. There's
they're just very divided. They couldn't
very
be further.
divided time, and the first thing they do when they sit down, and he's like 78 the other day.
You're just like,
yeah, nice. It's like, that's crazy. With all the things going on in the world, the first thing out of his mouth.
First thing about Obama and Trump, two guys that theoretically hate each other more than anyone, but they're just like, did you play Cyprus last week? It's like, me too, man.
That's exactly what I said. He must have been like, play Cyprus. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Before we go, Cam, Avery's favorite golf courses in the world?
Fisher's Island, number one.
Number one?
Number one. Like, my friend Matty, Mateo Burr is a member there, and like, I'm playing with him up there. It's like,
do we need to bleep his name out?
No.
Okay, good.
No, he's like,
just gonna get some emails.
Yeah. he's one of my really, really close buddies, and he took me out there for the first time, and I just was like, what? And I played a bunch with him there, and it's like, sometimes you feel like you're the only person out there, and you got all this, and it's tough, man. If you tip that place out, it is no joke. And if the greens are firm, that place is my favorite. It's one of my favorite. National is another one. There's a group of guys I play a lot at Bayonne.
And Black Bayonet and...
No.
Bayonne.
Bayonne Golf Club. Bel Air Country Club, one of my boys. I play a lot there. And if I was like 5, I'm trying to think.
Nothing in Australia?
I mean, I haven't played there in such a long time. In Australia, I remember Royal Sydney. They just tore it up. Royal Sydney, I remember being a kid, because I was a member at Royal Perth, I used to get to play Royal Sydney all the time. Whenever I was going for a tournament, I could use their practice facilities. I remember Royal Sydney being really fun. But, I mean, like I said, I've been playing most of my golf here. But yeah, I guess Royal Sydney doesn't stick out for me. If I'm going to go like Fisher's thing, Bel Air Country Club. Riv. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry. No, that was like, that was ridiculous.
Oh, Riv, obviously.
That was Riv. Like, sorry, I had a mental blank there. Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's a good roundup.
Yeah.
You know what I meant to ask you earlier is that if there is a defining characteristic of Australian players, like, and I mean this by like, growing in the U.S., there was always this like stereotype, like, oh, the South Africans, like tempo and bunker play. You know? And like the Latin American guys, when I was in college, we had Chileans and...
What were they good at?
Iron play.
Oh, really?
Unbelievable. And it's all funny. They have the same rhythm and tempo. A lot of it's laid off. Like, the only way to describe it is swashbuckling irons. Like
wow.
Aggressive, shaping the ball.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of this is true or if it's just my experience, but I wonder if like there's something that the Aussies like pride themselves
I don't know.
on.
I wouldn't know. Like, stereotype, I always feel like short game's a thing, right? Don't, like, most of the Aussies have got pretty good short games?
I always thought, I was thinking about this on the drive over, but I was like, you guys got a collection of some of the greatest on-plane aesthetic,
I mean, yeah, no, I'll say, that was what my first thought went to, was like, I always thought that, like, growing up, my idols were, it was like Tiger, but then you go Adam Scott, Aaron Baddeley, Norman, Jeff Ogilvy.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, like, think about even Minwoo now, like, it's like aesthetically, I would say that's probably a good stereotype. Aesthetically beautiful golf swingers. So, because I used to watch coverage of like PGA Tour and things like that, and I'd be like, how the fuck is he even making contact with that thing? Because some guys had at the time, guys who just if you'd put your average maybe like American player up against like Adam Scott, and like that's how you swing a golf club. What's this guy doing?
Yeah.
So I guess that would be it. It would be like aesthetically beautiful swingers of the golf club. There's not many. I can't think of like an Australian golfer with a wacky golf swing, or like an unconventional golf swing.
I wonder how that happens.
Norman, I reckon it was Norman.
You think so?
Modern golfers, like everyone loved Greg Norman. Just think about the swing plane that guy had.
Yeah.
He was a great, incredible ball striker, obviously. Mm-hmm. Not a good closer. Sorry,
got that in common.
Greg. Sorry.
Also a defining characteristic of the Aussies.
Yeah.
Last question: would you still go to the Oasis concert?
No.
Really?
Oh, I hate doing that, but I still romanticize about it. Like, I'd love if I could have been a competitive professional golfer.
But I'm sure that
No, I mean, what am I talking about?
your choices have taken you to, it sounds like, some very interesting places.
Yeah, no, I'm just, yeah. I mean, I romanticize about it, but still, man, I mean, I'm going this year. I'm going to go watch Oasis again. I'm just, all right, now that you've asked that question, like, I know myself, and I would have 100% gone to the Oasis concert every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Cam, thank you for the time. Yeah.
Appreciate it,
Great
man.
meeting you, man.
Nice to
That
meet
was
you
fun.
too.
We'll
Yeah.
play Bel Air next time.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Awesome. Check out the fade.